report from a U.S. consul in Bukavu reported on October 29, 1965, after seeing what's happening in North Kivu as well as South Kivu. That consul from the U.S. had his office in Bukavu, the province of Kivu, eastern part of Congo. His name is Andre Navez. He wrote, Banyarwanda, Congolese, eastern part of Congo, are being labeled as foreigners, invaders, infiltrators. They want to detach a portion of Congo to Rwanda. End of quote. That in 1965, an American council established in eastern part of Congo is seeing the entire national government, the provincial government, labeling those tribes, the Hutu and the Tutsi, being part of a project of detaching territories eastern of Congo to be part of Rwanda. But remember, in Rwanda, in 1959, we talk about Akayesu, 10 Commandments, was established in 1959. So some of Congolese leaders in 1960 were being fed by some ideology coming from Rwanda. That also the first Rwandan refugees fled and came to Congo. So we as Congolese, living in eastern part of Congo, the province of Rutshuru, Masisi, those provinces going to South Kivu in the high mountain of Itombwe, where we find our brothers called Banyamulenge, all were labeled as people not belonging to Congo. We are in the 60s, 60 years ago. Imagine from 1965, now we are 2026. The same rhetoric is still going on today. If you hear the news today, we talk about people who do not belong to the country. It was that speech from the top official government to the speaker of the government, to the speaker of the Congolese army, spokesperson. Why that happened? Leadership matters. In Congo, in the 1960s, Belgium played a big role. Divide to conquer. They divided Congolese. They made sure there is one part called Katanga with all resources where they can make a separate country. Secession happened. But Congolese came together in 1964, 65. They rebuilt the country, the unit, 65. We had like a period of grace with then President Mobutu, an Iron Man, who wanted to bring Congo together. I think the whole Africa knew Mobutu. He brought Congolese together. We had a secured eastern part of Congo from 1965 to 1990s. 1990s, the same grain of division, hatred, rised up. President Mobutu ceded to let that same labeling those populations being foreigners. 1991, I was in Kinshasa. My elders who were elected in the 1950s, in 1960s, member of the parliament, they were ejected, expelled from the national conference. Why? You are not really Congolese. We are 1991. They thought it would be something to go away. Memorandum were sent to the high level of the President Mobutu. 1992, nothing changed. All the Tutsi, excluding Tutsi, were expelled. We are in Congo 1991, 92. 1993, in the provinces where we come from, North Kivu, South Kivu, villages were destroyed, cattle were killed, burned, and population killed. 1992, 1993. 1994, then the genocide happened in Rwanda against the Tutsi. That's where things change drastically. The genociders perpetrator came in our villages. In North Kivu, South Kivu, eastern part of Congo, get infested with the full ideology that came in at the time. When our parents saw those people, they knew. And the genociders said, oh, we'll find the same people. At the television, the message was the Ten Commandments, the Tutsi need to be raped, they need to be killed, they need to be brought out, and then making that area clean of Tutsi the same way they did in Rwanda, they will do in the eastern part of Congo. And that's how we found ourselves being refugees. 1995, something was done to help making the world be aware of what will happen to Congo. If a portion of Congolese, a minority group, the Tutsi, the Banyamulenge being expelled, that will be creating something for the future generation that will not let Congo to be safe. In 1995, the National Parliament enacted the law describing and asking all the Tutsi and the Banyamulenge being expelled out of Congo. That was April 1994. After that National Parliament made the law, on July 10, 1995, Congolese Tutsi stand together and say, if a full government decided to expel us out of Congo, meaning no one will live in this country no more. The elders conveyed us to a meeting in Kinshasa on July 10, 1995. A memorandum of 11 pages was sent to Secretary General at the UN here in New York. The memorandum was addressed to President Mobutu, asking him, don't let this law being put in action. We are part of Congo. We are the fabric of Congo. Keep us as Congolese as we have been together. We are not from Rwanda. The law was saying Tutsi and the Banyamulenge are not from this country. After the memorandum was sent, we never got any response from the government. I'm one of the witnesses who were part of that meeting and who signed on that memorandum of July 10, 1995. Then worse things happened. 1996, all Tutsi, all Banyamulenge expelled, were given 2 weeks, you are out of Congo, or they will be conveyed by force. And that's what happened. On November 1st, 1996, my personal story, I was in Kinshasa working, and my boss told me, we'll not be able to secure you. You and the other Tutsi. Take all the means, but we as a company, we are going to help you getting out of this country. That's how November 1st, I was exfiltrated out of Kinshasa. Cross Congo River, I went to the other side of Brazzaville. That's how I became a refugee out of my home country, Congo. Today, 31 years after, refugees are still in camp in Rwanda, in Uganda, in Burundi, in Kenya, and we are here in the United States. 31 years after 1996, Congo has been in a mess. And that mess is based exactly on what was described. The hatred, discrimination, exclusion, and the use of division at the national level to make some people not belong to the country. Andrea, who is a Jew, spoke about mass rape and gave an example. I want to end with this one. Survivors, we hear survivors who came here after being exfiltrated and what they wrote. Andrea talked about the Rwandan genocider, Jean-Paul Akayesu, who used mass grave he was a mayor of a town. He used mass rape against women Tutsi. And using the 10 Commandments that were labeled in 1959 by the Hutu in Rwanda. And then 1990, before the genocide against the Tutsi. As a Kwibuka to 32 against the Tutsi, genocide against the Tutsi. Akayesu was in 1990s. Today we are 2026. In Congo, the 10 Commandments has been put on public television. I'm saying it because it's an official. December 27, on national television in Kinshasa, the spokesman of the government, or the FARDC, the Congolese army, decided, stated this: the women Tutsi are dangerous to be spoused by another Congolese because they spy on behalf of their Tutsi ethnic group.
Professors, for next, if you have to save your studio remarks for comments during the comment section,
I still have 2 minutes, I think.
No, you had 2 minutes.
Okay, okay. Let me end on that. So that was against using women identity division to make what's going on today. And today, in my conclusion, I will ask to make Congo and to make all Congolese together. We need a leadership that does not divide, a leadership that unites, a leadership that bring all forces together. Today, Congolese need to keep a dialogue within all of them, with all the stakeholders. If all can be together, and we salute all the peace processes that are going on, we hope these processes, with Washington Accord, with Doha process, peace accord, to bring the all Congolese together. And then we can see a Congo that can rise out of everything. Thank you very much for your attention.
We're going to use the timer. So when the timer goes off, then yes, please.
Thank you, Professor Safari, for those wonderful words of context, historical context. We also have here Sandra Wimana Chine. Is a human rights activist and author of How Dare the Sunrise. Sandra was born and raised in Congo until she was forced to flee due to the ongoing conflicts in 2004. Shortly after fleeing her home, Sandra survived massacre that claimed 166 lives, including her sisters. Since her family resettlement in New York in 2007, Sandra has fought hard to raise awareness about the Tumba massacre and call for justice. She has become a voice for women and girls, refugees and immigrants, forgotten people like her tribe. Sandra, who works to ensure that no Congolese girl ever has to leave home in search of opportunity through activism. Today, Sandra works with resettlement organizations in New York and continues to use the platform to advocate for displaced people. Sandra's memoir, How to Dare Sunrise, HarperCollins, is available to purchase online. Sandra, please.
Thank you so much for having me. I will try to stay on time, as I'm just here to share my personal story. As I said, my name is Sandra Wingimana. I was born and raised in Congo. My parents were born and raised in Congo. My grandparents were born and raised in Congo. As far back as I can trace my lineage, we are from Congo. However, growing up, I would hear things like, oh, angalia ule Mnyarwanda pale, which translates to, look at that Rwandan over there. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant. I had never been to Rwanda. My parents had never been to Rwanda. My grandparents had never been to Rwanda. So I didn't know why people would call me a Rwandese person. And it wasn't until I was a little older that I understood that it was because of our ethnic group and how we look. And for a child, that did not make any sense because everyone looks how they do, and I cannot do anything about the way that I look. It's not something that I can change. It's simply how I was born. So to be hated because of that did not really register in my mind. It did not make any sense. So I moved about my childhood normally. I had aspirations of growing up in my country. I wanted to be a journalist when I was younger. At no point did I ever think that I would be here in the United States, forced to live in a country so far away from my ancestors. Congo is the land of my ancestors, and it pains me deeply that I'm not allowed there. And for as long as I can remember, we've always had to prove our citizenship. My earliest memories are of my parents telling us how to behave in public, how to blend in as to not come off too Tutsi. They would tell us, try if you can to make your nose appear larger. When you go, it sounds ridiculous, but that is exactly what they used to tell us in order to keep us safe. And as a child, I would simply follow the instructions of my parents. But our childhood was filled with turmoil because we would be forced to flee almost every year. I don't recall too many school years that I was able to attend from start to finish without interruption. But we continue to come back because it's our home and it is the only place we'd ever know. So from a young age, I remember we fled the country in the 90s when I was still a very, very young child. In 2000, we found ourselves again in Burundi, and then we came back again, just to be forced to flee again a couple of years later. In 2004, we were told again by our neighbors. I remember I was already in school. It was a regular day in June. I went to school, and the next thing I knew was my parents saying, you know, we have to go. We must leave because every time tensions arise in Congo, we are not safe. Everybody else can stay, my classmates can stay and finish school, but we had to leave. And whenever we'd come back, no one was there to catch us up or to help us in any way. You simply had to figure out how to continue your education in the midst of being hunted. I didn't know that in 2004 when we left, it would be the last time I saw my home country. But something about it felt different because even before we were able to leave the country, we were ambushed. We were in a van. My father had gotten a van, and most of his children were in there. Two of my siblings were forced to flee separately because at the time the conflict broke out, they were at school far away, and we had no way to get to them. So they were forced to go in the whole plateaus to my grandparents' house. They were 14 and 16. And they were forced to make this journey of over 3 days by foot with no protection, no resources, but it was their only option of safety. Myself and my other siblings and my parents were headed to Burundi. It was the closest place to our town in Uvira where I grew up. Before we could even get to the border, we were ambushed by people we considered neighbors, people that my father had worked with, and other strangers who had barricaded the road and said that no Munyamulenge would go past. Our driver, unbeknownst to us, was in on it and arrived at the barricade and left us in the car, took the keys and left. We started being harassed and abused in the car. They were shaking the car, taking the suitcases, snatching necklaces, rings, anything of value that they could see, because in their words, these were Congolese resources and we had no right to them. None of those things mattered to us. We simply wanted to get out of there with our lives. By the grace of God and luck and I think divine intervention, a man who did not know us, who did not have any connection to my parents at all, showed up and asked why we were still standing there. Because he said, "You're going to die if you stay here any longer." We said, "Well, our driver basically abandoned us and took the keys." This man went inside some business because we couldn't really see, there were people surrounding the entire van. He left and a few minutes later came back with the keys. And he said, "Everybody keep your heads down. I will try to drive you out of here, and hopefully, because he was a Congolese man from another tribe, I don't know which one. He basically put his life on the line to get us out of there. And I'm eternally grateful for this man. And I really hope wherever he is, he's being blessed." But we had no other way of escaping. So he drove us out. We just put our heads down and hoped they wouldn't shoot up the van. Gladly, they did not. Probably because they had one of their own in the car and they did not want to injure him. We saw ourselves out of Congo and into Burundi. By the time we got to the border, we had nothing. Any resources that my parents had brought had been stolen, so we were forced to go into a refugee camp. This was the first time in my life that I had ever lived in a refugee camp. I was very fortunate that all the other previous times we were displaced, my parents had the means to get us into town and plug us into local school systems and keep us safe in that way. But this time was very different because my parents could not do that. We found ourselves in a makeshift refugee camp that was being built as we arrived. It was about 45 minutes from the border in a place called Gatumba. Those who know the region know that area very well. We stayed in Gatumba for probably 2 months, about 2 months. It was some of the most hopeless time in my life. Anybody who's lived in a refugee camp can tell you just how hopeless it is. There's nothing, especially one that is not established. There's no school. There weren't even restrooms. Women will be forced to shower outside, out in the open with zero protection. Children. We were just basically sitting ducks. And we lived like that for 2 months until the camp was attacked. So on August 13th of 2004, the camp was attacked by militia who came chanting in our own language of Kinyamlenge, Kirundi, Kinyarwanda, and Kiswahili. They were chanting that God had given them to us.
Thank you.
Imana y'abatugabiye were exactly the words they would use. They slaughtered people without caring whether it's a child, a man, or woman. And for context, no one in this refugee camp had a weapon to defend themselves. These were just civilians who wanted to stay safe from the war. We were supposed to be under UN protection. We were about 20 minutes away from a military camp or police station, and we had no idea how these people found us here and what they were looking for. We didn't have any resources. We didn't have anything to give them or for them to take. All they wanted was to see us suffer and was to kill Banyamulenge people. I'm gonna try not to go on for too long, but basically my family, we lost my sister, Deborah. I lost many friends, cousins, a lot of people that I grew up with. And it was through that massacre that we were granted asylum to come to the United States. After arriving to the United States, I realized that it was my responsibility to make sure that the world never forgets what happened in Gatumba. Because the lives that were lost mattered. They may not matter on the global stage, but they matter to me. And I've made it my mission and is my passion in life to eradicate hate of any kind, but especially that based on something you cannot control, like what you look like. Hopefully we will have time to discuss more, but I'm going to stop here because I know my time is about to expire, and let our fellow panelists continue.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for your courage, sharing your story. That moves us and hopefully move a lot of people to action. So thank you. Next, we have Abigail Pesta, author and journalist. She is an award-winning writer who has lived and worked as a journalist around the world, including New York, London, and Hong Kong. She's the author of Girls, An All-American Town, A Predatory Doctor, and The Untold Story of a Gymnast Who Brought Him Down, a news-breaking account of the gymnast sexual abuse case that galvanized athletes and the nation for justice. Why don't you share some words with us, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you can see, Sandra is just a phenomenal person, and I had the honor of working with her on her memoir a few years ago. She wrote a book called How Dare the Sunrise, as she mentioned. It's labeled as a young adult memoir. The idea was for young readers to understand, well, a lot of things, but it's a book for all ages, and as Sandra will tell you, she's heard from people of all ages all over the world who were moved and who learned so much from her words. So if you haven't had a chance to read it, I hope you do. For Sandra to share her story, and that's why she wanted to do the book, was, well, for many reasons, but for one, to help people understand what it's like to come here as a refugee and what it's like to live through war and displacement and conflict, as a child, as a family, and be uprooted. And she was plopped down in the middle of Rochester, New York, before she was a teenager, and what it's like to come to middle school in America and try to figure out where you fit in and who you are, and while still dealing with this incredible trauma of having she lost her baby sister in a horrific massacre that's just unthinkable. So I was so honored to work with her on this book. Sandra was in college at the time, and dealing with nightmares and flashbacks from her experience, and yet still determined to tell the story, not just to help people understand what it's like to be a refugee, but also, as she said, to tell the world what happened, because this massacre in Gatumba, it didn't make the global news. People don't know, and she wants people to know, and to still try to get some kind of justice. There was no justice ever, and so I don't have a formal presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. But I just have to say, Sandra, thank you for having the courage and the heart to do what you do, because just even standing up here and telling her story today, it brings back all that trauma. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Sandra's cool. But she's, inside she's dealing with this, she's going back to that dark place and telling that story every time she tells it. So thank you. And working with Sandra on this book was such a learning experience for me. There's so much we just don't think about, we just take for granted here, and that was the thing. I think a really powerful thing about the book too was that kids in high school and college are reading it, and I know they've said to you, like, we never thought about these things before. We just didn't think about what you'd gone through before you came here, and there are just so many powerful messages. And I'll tell you, the first time I met Sandra, you were in high school, and she had done this photo exhibit with her brother. They were taking photos of survivors of the massacre who had resettled in America and telling their stories. And they were in a gallery in Rochester. And she was she had come to this giant conference in New York, the Women in the World Conference. It was at Lincoln Center, and she was talking about this project and her experience. And so she introduced Angelina Jolie to the crowd first before she spoke, and then she sat down with Charlie Rose and told this story. And I just remember being blown away. Like, here's a high school kid speaking to thousands of people at Lincoln Center. And not just that, but telling this deeply personal and deeply traumatic story. And, she and I kept in touch over the years, and a few years later we started talking about doing this book and how it was a way to reach young readers and readers of all ages and help build bridges, among cultures and help people understand each other a little better. And every year I say this to her, this book could not be more timely and more important. And I say it again, I just think, what Sandra is doing is just trying to help people understand each other and telling her story, and it's incredibly courageous and powerful. So yeah, if you have any questions, ask.
Yeah, there's something, it's really emotional. I'm very sorry, Sandra, what happened to you, to parents in the world.
The mic.
We
can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm Gershom from DRC Congo too.
I think you need to speak in a microphone.
Oh,
We can hear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
they can
Now, it matters. You can hear him. You can't hear him on the media.
okay. Thank you very much. I'm Gershom from
There
DRC
you
Congo.
are. Got it. Great.
Yeah, it's really emotional to hear the story what she told us. But something I want to mention is what she said is still happening until now. That's the biggest thing, It's just one case. You feel emotional, right? It's emotional, but it's still happening. Almost everywhere in Eastern Congo. And what is happening to them, it's only just because they look like her. There's no any reason. Because she looks like she isn't right there, people are dying. God, thank you to God, because they survived it. But other people, they are being killed just because they look as she looks right now. So, yeah, I'm a part of people who are fighting against those practices. I'm not Tutsi, but I'm Congolese. But we are fighting to make sure Congo is secure and everyone can feel free. And I really invite everyone. It's not easy, It's not easy. But anyone can do something. Hundreds of people are being killed like that, burned, and people, they eat the body of Tutsi, and people are proud to eat the body of a Tutsi because a Tutsi in the public, and they can film that and they can post on social media. It's normal. And when you do that, you look like to be brave man, brave woman who can eat a body of a Tutsi, So that's what I just wanted to add to what she said, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
But if we did questions after, because we have people who are going to go for
Some people are leaving.
engagements, and we don't want to lose them as the representative for Rwanda's mission here. And the next panel is on peace. So I would request that we at least, then after that we can just go into questions. We have ample time in the evening. We are just going to have village discussion. Appreciate it. The next panel, please.
The next panel, yeah.
One of them is supposed to be leaving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Ambassador is here.
Yes, yes, please. Please, please. President. Yes, please.
Well, I gotta keep up with you. Keep avoiding me. Yeah.
Every bit of celebration.
Well, we don't see you, so. You'll be in your Rotary Club. There's this. We're down to 165 or 68 members. We're added. Mary, how do you want us to kick off? Just start?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of the backup moderator from time to time. This happened about 2-3 years ago, and I started on a Wednesday, and they said I would be moderating one session, and I ended up on Friday afternoon. And I think I did every panel, maybe one I did not do. So again, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock. It's wonderful being with you. Mary and I have become very good friends over these years. She's doing fantastic work on Watch Democracy Go. And yeah, round of applause. And also the new Marshall Plan for the African continent. Come on, stand up, take a bow. Come on, Mary, stand up. She tries to be very shy, but you know, she's really not that way. She's quite assertive, but she's wonderful. And so I'm going to defer to the other three speakers. I'll be speaking a short while about Pathway to Peace for 2030. This is a very practical, hands-on way to achieve peace on planet Earth. There is a tipping point of 10,000 communities, 40 million people, 0.5% of the world's population, to move the Earth from focus on war and conflict to peace. And this is a mathematical formula and has been evolving actually over the last about 100 years. So it's slow in coming, but we think it's going to have a real impact. And so anyway, I'm going to let these three gentlemen up here make sure I have the right panelists, author sitting right beside me. I'll let you go first. Okay. Arthue is a Rotarian. I'm a Rotarian. He was a member of our club. We are looking forward to having him back, Swami, and he's the Deputy Chief of Mission for the Embassy of Rwanda. And thank you for being here talking about peace. And we have 4 very different perspectives, but all focused on peace. And I'm adding into that so that you know the orientation I'm coming from: sustainable development, positive peace, and supporting the environment. These are the 3 pillars of today. The 3 pillars of today. And if you look at the SDGs for the United Nations, you look at the 7 major areas of focus of Rotary International, which is one of the largest NGOs on the planet, 1.5 million members, 46,000 clubs, 200 countries and territories, and one of the founders of the UN, is that all of these come back to these three pillars. And I'm convinced that if we don't have this balance between the development, economic development, sustainable development, and supporting the environment, there is no peace. There's no way. Because if people can't feed themselves, they don't have water, they can't go to the bathroom, literally. Over 3 billion people have no place to go to the bathroom by actual numbers. And so we have to get all these things right at the same time. We have a finite, life force sitting in this room. And so we need to be busy about doing good in the world. So Arthur, we're going to start off with you. If you give about a minute introduction of yourself, and I will be telling. I know you love to speak. So
Even 5 seconds enough for me. Introduce myself.
but anyway, we'll time and we'll have time for questions. Right, Mary? Q&A. Author.
So am I introducing myself or?
Just 1 minute. I've already basically given you an introduction, and then I have to introduce you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sam. It's been a while. Thank you for moderating this, and happy to see you. So my name is Arthue Simwe. I am from Rwanda, not from the DRC. You might confuse me with people that we look alike, but we're from 2 different countries.
All very handsome.
And I'm the Deputy Ambassador of Rwanda to Washington, D.C. for the past 2.5 years. And I think whatever I'm going to be speaking to you about today
Peace.
is going to be easy because my colleagues from Congo, from their side of the border, have given a very good background. So the rest is going to be just all cover for me. Thank you. That's the introduction. I just want me to go ahead and...
Now you get to speak. 18 minutes.
Okay. I speak.
You can't get off that easy.
You want me to sit or stand?
Stand. You can stand.
You have good energy. Yeah, you have good energy.
That'll be easier
You
for the microphones and the cameras.
The promise the teachers us to be obedient, so I have no option but to be obedient. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know what I'm going to tell you about because much of the things you know, much of the things you've read, and much of the things you've heard from the people that I found here speaking. But I was told that I'm supposed to be talking about the Washington Peace Agreement between the DRC and Rwanda, and if at any one moment it's going to bring peace. But I think I will just begin by what the previous speakers that have spoken here before said. If you see me and the gentleman who was speaking Safari, or the gentleman next to him, or the lady who spoke, even the gentleman who made an intervention from the floor, there's hardly any difference between us. We come from the same region, we share the same culture, we share the same language, we share the same aspirations, but we're only meant to be different by a line drawn by colonialists. Some guys went and sat in Berlin in 1885, and they said to draw a line that separated us apart. So in the morning you woke up, you're Rwandan, your brother is Congolese. And unfortunately our brothers who became Congolese have all those years now been accepted to be Congolese, legitimate Congolese, whose rights are respected, whose citizenship is guaranteed, and basically whose rights are respected. So that has been the source of the issues that we have in our part of Congo and Rwanda, and that has been the genesis of the conflict that we have. Far away from what you hear from the media that's about minerals and all sorts of things, it's an issue of people's rights that have been abused, people that have been killed, people that have been made stateless. This country is home to over 50,000 refugees from Congo.
from the Tutsi ethnic Congos. You ask yourself, why are they here? Why are they home? They've all been, most of them spent so many years in camps in neighboring countries, in my country, Rwanda. And they've just been picked from there and brought to US, to Canada, to Australia. And you ask yourself, why are these people refugees? Why have they been taken away from their homes and brought in these parts of the world as refugees? But the good news, hopefully, there's will to have peace, because this part of the world is tired of conflict. All of us are tired of conflict, especially my own country, Rwanda. We've made a lot of economic progress in our lives. Our people are stable. We've been stable for the last 32 years. And we've made a lot of investments in our infrastructure, investments in our social fabric, investments in our people. And the last thing we want to hear is war. We need peace. And that's what the leadership of President Kagame has been saying on and on and on. Congo is our biggest trading partner. A stable Congo is important Congo for us because it's a big market for us. We can't be the same people who want this huge market. We can't be the same people who have done these investments in our sectors, the same people who would want instability in the region. We really want a stable Congo because Congo is an important trading partner for us. But like the English say, it takes two to tango. You might want peace, but the other side is not interested in peace. It's a long story. Washington Accords were signed last year. And Washington Accords must be seen in three phases, or in three parts. Number one is the peace agreement that was signed between Rwanda and the DRC. The peace agreement is about stopping the war that's going on in Eastern Congo. And the war that's going on in Eastern Congo can be stopped. Rwanda has legitimate security concerns that originate from Eastern Congo. The guys, this week, are commemorating 32 years after genocide. The guys that committed genocide fled and stayed in the Congo. And they're the ones who are even causing havoc and chaos and killing people that they found there, the ethnic Congolese Tutsis. These fellas have been there for the last 32 years, and they have been a source of instability for us. And they've been supported by the DRC government. And for us to have said, please, stop this. These fellas have to be disarmed, these fellas have to be repatriated, and these fellas should not be given any support. And the DRC agreed, they said they're going to do that. We have also had our own defensive measures, because like I told you, our economy has been growing, our people have been stable for the last 30 years. Rwanda is a very small country. We don't have any geographical depth to have a war inside Rwanda. And our society is still traumatized. We don't want the sound of heavy weapons flying over. It will remind them of what happened 32 years. Most of our people have forgotten what happened. People have had peace for these years. So we have had very strong defensive measures to ensure that no insecurity crosses into our borders. And that's why we have no apology about it. Because we know the cost of instability to our people, to our economy. So whatever we do, we have to make sure that our country is safe and secure. So we've been having these discussions. How do we review our defensive measures? How does the Congo fight these rebel groups that are a threat to our security? And that Washington Accords has been about that. So we've agreed of some steps of what needs to be done. The Congolese side is supposed to be doing some things. Disarming the FDLR group. As on our side, as Rwanda, we also review what we call our defensive measures that we put in place. So that's one part of the peace agreement. The other part of the peace agreement that is very important is out of Washington. It's in Doha. Now, because of what has been happening in the Middle East, I think it has been moved to Geneva.
Geneva, yes.
To Switzerland. And that's a very important part, which people have not really spoken about. It's supposed to be an inter-Congolese dialogue. Because the political situation in Congo needs people sit down around the table and discuss. It's not about the M23 that I've had, that has been in the media. There's so many. Congo is home to over almost 100 plus
200
rebel groups. So there's an internal political issue that has to be discussed. You've heard about the former president, Joseph Kabila, was sentenced to death. There's so many issues that need dialogue and discussion, and for them to come up with a political solution. And that's what the Doha process is laying ground for. We hope that Doha process can be given support. The Doha process is what will create a mechanism for the M23 rebellion to, stop, because it's addressed what needs to be done. How can they be integrated? How do you guarantee the peace and security of the people that are in that part of Eastern Congo? So the Doha process is very important. And that's the second part of this whole process. So we have the Washington Peace Agreement between Rwanda and the DRC. Then we have the Doha process, which is an internal Congolese dialogue. Then the other component is the economic agreement. And for me, which I think is very important and which will bring lasting peace to that part of the region. Because all along, the war is around the absence of economic livelihood for the people, the population. People don't have what to do. Like I told you, Eastern Congo is almost 200 miles from Kinshasa, completely delinked from Kinshasa. There's no railway connection, there's no road network, there's no water connection. So for you to be able to fly to connect from Goma to Kinshasa, you have to fly 2 hours or so flight. Yes. So completely delinked and almost neglected by the government in Kinshasa. So the economic agreement is about empowering the population in that part of Eastern Congo. It's rich with minerals, for example. How do we transition from illegal mining, from artisanal mining, to large-scale commercial mining? Commercial mining that will give jobs to people, that people pay, the companies pay taxes, make it more professional, and so that the governments can benefit, more jobs are created, and and with that kind of large-scale commercial mining, also other economic activities happening there. Support agriculture, support other sectors like healthcare, education, and all that. So the economic agreement lays a ground for transparent, productive, win-win economic activities that can be done between the eastern part of Congo and its neighbors. And one of the neighbors is Rwanda. And one of the areas we look at is tourism, for example. We are home to one of the world's most endangered species, the mountain gorillas. We can do joint tourism projects that gives opportunity to so many people. We share a lake that is rich with methane gas. Rwanda has the technology in converting methane gas into electricity. We can help the Congolese so that Eastern Congo becomes powered. We share a river called Ruzizi. Hydroelectricity can be generated there for the countries. The minerals in both areas, Rwanda and Congo. Congo has more minerals. How can we invest in refineries? How can we attract investments from America, from other parts of the world? People who are experienced in the area of mining to come and set up corporate, productive, professional mining companies and stop this illegal, small-scale mining that is supporting so many rebel factions that are operating in Eastern Congo. So make it more professional. So the government of Congo benefits through taxes, through job creation. The government of Rwanda benefits through open, transparent, cross-border trade. So the economic agreement is also been there. Now, the issue comes, and where I should stop from, it comes to what we call implementation. There is to sign these agreements, you sign them, you come to Washington DC, you sign, you agree. Now the biggest hurdle comes to implementation. On implementation, one needs one thing: commitment and seriousness of the players. Are you serious what you've signed? I speak for my government. Whatever we agreed to do, we have done. The other side is still yet to show that they have done what they agreed to do. And of course, you know, these Congolese are very rich with the minerals. These guys have all sorts of minerals that the world wants. So they can they go everywhere using their card of minerals, and they can get a soft landing. Yeah. And unfortunately, that makes them extremely stubborn. Yeah. When it comes to implementation of what is supposed to be done. So we have a lot of hope in the Washington Peace Accord. We think that President Trump is serious and committed to the process of bringing peace to this part of the world. Rwanda is more than committed. We are more than determined to see peace, because peace means a lot for us. Peace means a lot for our people. Peace means a lot for our economy. Peace also, we're just tired of war in that part of the world. We want to be defined not by war, but by good deeds, by investment opportunities, by a thriving economy, by a young population that is productive, by a place where you can go and relax as an American, go for tourism, enjoy vacation, and enjoy good times. And that's what we're fighting for. And Rwanda is more than committed to ensure that the part of our agreement that we agreed in Washington is implemented. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to move on and have our next speaker, and I'm just going to go down the table if that's okay. Commissioner Dr. Ian G. Camel, the role of international organizations in enforcing peace in Africa. And I'm interested in this enforcing peace in Africa. That's an interesting take on that. Gentleman from Jamaica, correct? And that's where I did my doctoral dissertation. I've been tip to tip of that country. It's very beautiful, wonderful people, and I eat great food everywhere I stop. So, Ian, glad to have you here. If you want to give about a 1-minute introduction of yourself, and let's get on to peace and this whole thing of enforcing peace in Africa. That's a tough one.
Greetings, everybody.
Good evening.
And my name is Ian Campbell, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be with everybody during a lot. Originally from Jamaica, West Indies, and worked on Capitol Health for a number of years, became chief of staff, transitioned into the real world, became a lobbyist and then government relations, campaigns, and I also had a nonprofit that was donating a number of products, hospital equipment, medicine to countries in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. With that being said, I'd like to inspire it, but I learned a lot by being here. And I think one thing that we have not really been told before was the impact that the Rwandan genocide has had on other countries. And that story hasn't been told. With the agreement that's being on the way, I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to tell your story to Congress so that Congress can impact the decisions that are being made on the ground. People just don't know. And to give you an example of how important that is, the gentleman sitting to my left, your right, Robert Esperia, is from Colombia, South America. In 2000, he came and said, hey, black people in Colombia are being disadvantaged, not being counted, affected by all these different factors in narco trafficking and things of that sort. Congress, displacement, murder, kidnap, the whole thing. Congress just did not know. So we took his story, put it in writing, and then had the Congressional Research Service do research to verify, took that research, turned it into a resolution. From that resolution, it went into the bill so that monies can be in Colombia, billions of dollars were going to Colombia, to make sure that some of that money affected the communities that were impacted by narco trafficking, by kidnapping, and things of that sort. Now, 25 years later, Colombia is a vacation destination, one of the top places to travel. It wasn't by accident, it was by target work, research, methodical intervention. And that's a case study of what we can do to address the situation currently in DRC. It's not talked about. We don't know about it. So I want to provide you with that because there's an opportunity, and that's a case study on what you can use to move forward. That being said, we talk about infrastructure. The gentleman mentioned that there's no infrastructure. There's no bridges, no roads, no development. If there's no infrastructure, the government does not have a reason to be there. They're not going to protect it. They don't have a vested interest. It's not for them. And your resolution to Congress asks the government to establish infrastructure. For them now to have a training facility, for them to have some government offices relocated in that region so that districts management is now locally centralized. So that local government now has an office space to do municipal functions. That infrastructure will allow for the government to protect its region, its infrastructure, its development, its people. That's one of the key issues we had to overcome, whether it was in Nicaragua, Colombia, looking at even North and South Korea. They've been at war since one of the longest wars, but on the demilitarized zone separates the two countries. And they had a lot of cross-border conflicts and things of that sort, so that's why they established that. We went there to support the development of infrastructure, Quezon complex, where the factories would be there, where they can work, less people crossing the borders, and those monies would go to the people. In North Korea went to the government primarily, but the people that work in those factories had a better quality of life. And people in the South didn't have to worry about the invasion from the North coming over because people were making money. Unfortunately, that project went on for several years and ended. But it did create a stabilized peace and working together between those nations for several years. There's no establishment of infrastructure between DRC and Rwanda and that region. It leaves for a lot of groups to pick up arms and create conflict. As we talked about earlier, if there isn't an established relationship where individuals that's there have housing, food, education, families can have jobs, then the illegal activity is going to spread. In Colombia, another textbook example, development came because in Escobar lived in Medellin, which was one of the most violent cities in the world at one point in time. The government of Colombia decided they would demobilize the folks in that area, provide them with, they're turning their guns, provide them with a house, for them and their family, with a trade so they can have jobs, education for the children, and a safe community. If you go to Medellin now, it's one of the most beautiful places there is. It's lovely. It's peaceful. You can walk a street. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it wasn't so nice. The same thing can happen if there's been interest on the government to see the benefit of that. There's an economic benefit to peace. It allows for everybody in the community to participate and contribute. The Colombia story wasn't about black people in Colombia not being disadvantaged. It's about you're not taking full advantage of the human capital that's available to you. So allow for these people to now become part of the economy and create stability and peace so that you can actually have more and you can grow and develop. That was the selling point. But we also used the fact that the U.S. government was giving tremendous amount of resources, and we leveraged that to bring about peace and development. if there's no roads, there's no electricity, if there's no infrastructure there, you're not going to have a lot of investment from the U.S. or from the local government. Let that be part of the conversation that you actually require to connect North. There's no reason why you have to fly to get from one city to the next. You know, it's keeping you separated. If I can drive from here to Florida in the next 18 hours, 18 hours later end up in California, and 18 hours after that come back to New York, you know, that's what makes America great. That's the uniqueness that we have, the infrastructure. People are not able to move around in other countries the way that we do. And when they do move around, it costs a tremendous amount, and it's extremely challenging. The lasting peace will occur when the government, civil society, and folks on the ground invest in that development, invest in their infrastructure, invest in their bottom line, which is economically, it doesn't matter if this person is from here, there, anywhere. If they're doing well, I'm doing well, more taxes to be collected, more development happens, and we look better on the world stage. It's a recipe that we've used, whether it's Latin America, the Caribbean, or the continent. It works. Places like Western Sahara, where they've had ongoing disagreements about whether or not they should exist, I think is an example of what we can't allow to continue. 50 years, 100 years, how long is it going to take? I'd say the Colombia example is an example of 20 years that it really worked well, and other countries have been looking to duplicate it. I would say the secret sauce that we identified in that is the people. The people have to want it. The people have to understand how the U.S. government works, have a liaison that bridges those gaps. In Colombia, Robert was able to bridge the gap between what we knew here in the U.S. and the folks on the ground. He was able to convey messages. We said we need that story in writing. The next day, it was in writing. And when took it from one area to the next, we walked the whole process through. You have to understand how the U.S. works. You have to get involved in the process here and use now the peace accords, the relationships, use these instruments to your benefit. You have to be able to connect it with your local elected officials. Why is it beneficial to him to put himself out there, to be on the stage advocating for Congo and people? Because you're a citizen. You're here in this country. Your family might be back there, but you're here, you're living here, you're voting in his district or her district. You have to make those connections. And the government support is extremely, extremely important from this side and from their side. And you have to kind of drag them kicking and screaming. They're not just going to say, oh, that's a good idea, we'll do it. You have to show them, if you don't do it, this person right here is interested in running, and they're going to get our support. Or you show up with all your church members, 100, 200, 300 people, so we want to have this meeting. And it's just like, okay, I don't know who you people are, but it's 300 of you, let's have this meeting. They find room for you, they'll come out and see you. Because they understand that's a voting block. And you have to, wherever your dollars go, your vote go, that's where your power, you're directing your power. You have to be able to consolidate your interests, have a narrow margin of list of what it is that you're looking for, peace, development, infrastructure, and focus on those 2 things. Whenever people talk to you, you know, why are you here? Peace, development, infrastructure. You know, that's just what it is. Have it in writing, have it publicized every week, send the same letter. It doesn't matter. You should not allow yourself to be ignored. And this story is, you know, it's quite chilling to think about. This been going on for 30-something years, and as informed as we are in this community of Washington, D.C., you've never heard it. I've been to Congo. I'm talking to people from Kivu. I've never heard it. It is shocking that happened. It's still happening. And thank you for the book, because that's a great way to get information out there. If we're not telling our stories, somebody's going to tell them for us. But you also have to know how to channel your story, where to direct it. Because now you have a path. You're an elected official. I don't care if it's the city council, you can do a resolution about what you said, what you're doing. Your city council then reaches out to your state representative, reaches out to your congressperson, who's talking to your mayor, talking to you. It's all connected. You have to learn how to leverage those relationships. So I would I'll be around for questions, and I think that you have an opportunity. I think that there's evidence of what you can do, what you can achieve in a very short period of time. Right now, the spotlight is on it. The spotlight is on your community, it's on your country. This is the time. You have a president that has shined the spotlight on. There's a transaction in place. There's a resolution that foreign relations can say that if we don't deal with the violence, then we cut all support for this agreement. We cut all support for any kind of minerals coming out because we can't confirm, verify whether or not those minerals are free and clear. We did it in Liberia. Conflict diamonds. Now you have to go through this process to get diamonds out. There should be some kind of resolution that restricts the free flow of minerals coming, and you can do that. You can present that idea. I don't think that conflict diamonds resolution was the best 25 years later, but at the time, it's a great idea. You know, they're being used to fund the war. They're being used for this and the other. Identify these 200 groups. Tell your elected official you want them to be designated as terrorist groups. Put pressure. Put pressure. And those are the things that you just keep putting out there and keep fighting so that you can get your viewpoints heard and get yourself now part of the conversation. Be sitting in the room to have a conversation and say, these are solutions we have. Because I can tell you the honest truth, I have no idea what the solution would be. I don't live there. I'm just hearing about it. But I can tell you what works. And you have to identify specifically what solution is going to work for your community. Because when I told Barbara when we met, I said, I'm not going to live in Colombia. I'm not from Colombia. You need to tell me what it is that you need for me to do. And that's how we went ahead and made change. Politics is an active sport. You have to be engaged on a regular basis. You can't just let it, I had a meeting, I said this, and that's it. Follow up, and don't stop until it's done. And if the person's not moving the ball forward, if you're not getting the results you want, you have to get rid of that person. Threaten them with their life. Their livelihood will be something else. Not aggressively, but you're going to get another job. So you have to, because literally it is your life. It is the lives of your family and friends. So you have to give them another life and put somebody in there that's going to represent your interests. And thank you for your time. And if you need to ask any questions, I'll be more than happy to be around and answer them. I'll be here all day. Thank you.
You're listening to a true master there, very wise counsel that you have. And the one, I was going to say, the 5 things about making anything work: follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, and follow up. So if you do that and you stay on top of it, it will work. But you got to make it work. And what you said about a contact sport, it truly is. And we have to be very, very involved. We have all these titles. Let's see here. Reverend Father, Doctor. Fantastic. Candace Iakia. And he's going to talk about the role of religious leaders and traditions in peace deals. I like this phraseology, peace deals. That's interesting. Dialogues in Africa. So, Reverend Father, PhD, take it away. I are one, so I can say it.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you
this is great. I'm very, very glad to be part of this today. The conversation, I think, centers around our shared humanity and human dignity. And so I wanted to bring us to the space where we can pay attention to the social capital we have, the trust capital we have in Africa, and that is the role and presence of religious leaders across the continent. You know, John Mbiti, one of the finest scholars from Kenya, said that Africans are notoriously religious. And he speaks to African cosmology and interconnectedness. That in Africa, in different parts of Africa, we know that religion is at the center of almost everything we do. Our relationship, our culture, engagements. So why not leverage the presence of this important group in Africa as we work on the peace process? And in 1967, Pope Paul VI wrote a very beautiful encyclical called Populorum Progressio, the development of peoples. And he said that development is the new name for peace. Development is the new name for peace. And in his understanding, development is integral. He talked about integral human development, which is the development of the person and the whole person. Not just the economic person, not the intellectual person, the whole person. And the whole person speaks to the life of the community because the whole person is part of the common good process. And so if this is where we are in Africa, and we know, those of us from Africa, I grew up in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria. I'm sure you know that parts of Africa, religion shapes identity. Religion shapes values. Religion shapes daily lives. So the role of religious leaders is very, very imperative today across the continent of Africa if human dignity means anything to us. Religious leaders must not only be engaged, but step up to work with the political systems across the continent. I'm sure, again, that if you go through Africa today, very few political leaders will tell you they are not members of one religious tradition or another. 99.9% belong to one religious tradition or another. So how are they leveraging the teachings of their religious traditions to advance policies that advance human well-being, flourishing, integral development? Now, if you look at what happened in Mozambique in 1977, when that civil war erupted between Frelimo, the ruling party, and Renamo, San Egidio, a lay Catholic organization in Rome, worked with religious leaders in Mozambique patiently through a period of a couple of years, led by Archbishop Goncalves, to lead this process of peace, engaging Frelimo and Renamo, because both sides trusted the moral authority of the religious leader. He was a neutral participant. And because he was neutral, both parties listened to him. And this is where we bring about the force of moral authority and moral legitimacy. Because the foundation of human dignity, and in African traditional values, we talk about the sacredness of life. It's not the life of a Muslim or a Christian or a Tutsi or Hutu. The sacredness of life. Every life is sacred. And this life is given by God. It's not the product of the society. It is the responsibility of the society to then protect what God has given. So the religious leaders have this responsibility to lead the path, the peace process. And that's what Archbishop Goncalves did, that in 1992, the peace agreement, peace accord was signed. It was the end of the Civil War, a time for stability, even though conflict can be fluid. But what are we doing as religious leaders? The religious faith-based organizations succeeded with the religious leaders because they were neutral, because they focused on human dignity, because from a geopolitical point of view, they had no interest. It was about peace. Now, fast forward to 2014 Accra Peace Agreement in Liberia. From 1989 to 2002-3, we saw what happened in Liberia between Charles Taylor and Prince Johnson, and of course the other splinter groups. What happened? When the Women in Peace Building Network saw this situation, they came together, and these women transcended ethnic, religious identities. It was about the life of Liberians. And they used, local mobilization, going out every day publicly protesting, asking questions, wearing their white, mobilizing grassroots groups. And then they used moral pressure. They had to confront Charles Taylor. Why are you killing people? Why does it not matter to you? And of course, they directly engaged in the peace talks. When these guys in the room decided not to continue the conversation, the women locked the door and blocked the way. You're not leaving the room until you reach this agreement. The power of religious traditions, Muslim women, Christian women, traditional religion adherents coming together, the foundation of our shared humanity. And that led to the Accra Peace Accord of 2003, and of course the general election in 2005, and Charles Taylor left Liberia. In fact, he came to Nigeria, But, the women did that. Again, it was very, very pathetic listening to our sister Sandra. In conflict situations, women and girls suffer a lot. They are the victims. They suffer it. It is very difficult for a woman to escape without her child. No mother wants to do that. She prefers to die. Women are wrecked. They are used as objects. And that's why these women came together. The force, the impetus of religious traditions. Now, if you look at what happened in South Sudan in 2013, the youngest nation in Africa, but most disappointing. Because when it was the whole of Sudan, everybody was crying, oh, they're killing them because they're Christians. That's nonsense, right? And so when South Sudan gained independence in 2011, what happened? Between Sivakar and Makar, in 2013, they killed and killed and killed. Because of the intoxication of power. I have to be in charge. It has to be me. I was traveling to Tanzania sometime, and I was in a plane with a South Sudanese. He was there with his son, and the young man was telling me, oh, this is my dad. My dad is a vice president. I said, how many vice presidents do you have? I was telling me there are more than 5 vice presidents in South Sudan.
Five.
5 vice presidents in South Sudan. South Sudan is not up to Lagos, Nigeria. Those of you have been to Lagos, right? What are you doing with 5
vice presidents? Yes, we just had 9 presidents in Haiti. And I can tell you how productive that was.
How productive. So the point is, this is where you see human selfishness on steroids. That's what's going on. But the religious leaders, the South Sudanese Council of Churches, came together again, led by a Catholic bishop, a Episcopalian bishop, and Pentecostal bishop, and sat with these people. Again, neutrality, moral legitimacy, moral authority. And asked Sivakar and Makar, can you guys stop this? Human dignity is important. And of course, the brief peace agreement was signed. My dear friends, in Africa today, it is imperative that we engage religious leaders and force them, and I want to use the word again, force them to live up to their calling as religious leaders. Can you imagine where all the prominent religious leaders in DRC Congo, all of them, from every tradition, walk to the presidency and say, hey, we've got to solve this problem today? Who is that president that will say no? It's not possible. And remember the ubiquitous nature of religious presence across Africa. In every village in Africa, you have a religious tradition.
Yes.
When they do that, those in government, there is this expression I hate in Africa. We are the stakeholders. The country belongs to everybody.
That's why it's problem.
Every one of us is a stakeholder.
Correct.
And the diaspora must play an important role. If the religious leaders have to do their part in this peace process, using grassroots mobilization, moral authority, it is then important for those of us here. I listened to one of the speakers who said, yeah, we're here. I think it was my brother from Jamaica, that we are here. Let us not be deceived by the comfort zone we think we're enjoying. Our brothers and sisters in Africa suffering and dying.
Yeah.
The importance of the role of the diaspora in a most objective manner. If we come together, as this my brother mentioned earlier, coming together, who is dying? The person dying is a human being. It is not Hutu, Tutsi, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. It is a human being destroyed. Can we leverage our own position here in the United States and give objective transformation of our continent? Thank you.
Nicely said, nicely said.
Like a preacher.
Yeah, sounds like a preacher. As he should. But going to one of the key points that you made, this is to bring all the religious leaders together, and we were talking about that just earlier as far as natural resources in all these different countries. That it must go to the people at the bottom, the ones that are actually doing the work, that sit with their natural resources, and they must have the benefit of those natural resources. And that's something that we've been focused on for 52 years, and we're going to stay focused on that because it's very, very important that those that have those natural resources in their local communities, that they can take advantage of it and it doesn't go out. You got the Wagners, you got the CCP, you got all these others, the Europeans, I'm not going to leave them out, or the United States. We're all equally equally to be blamed, but at the same time we need to organize ourselves so we actually focus on the people, and the development comes from those grassroots areas. So they're building their own schools, their own clinics. The kids can have uniforms, they can go to school. they can have natural resources or resources where they can enjoy life. You know, life is not to be just drudgery and working, but life is to be enjoyed. And this is something that I respect about Jamaica and really in the Caribbean. Very, very nice developed countries in most cases, and the people really enjoy themselves. They work hard, but they enjoy themselves. We need to bring this to the continent.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've been going to the continent since 1973 myself. And so I've been going back and forth a long time. And I started something about 30 years ago. It was called Africa Fast Forward. Maybe I was a little aspirational. But it seems like it's now catching up. And so that's why I'm very pleased that you allowed me to be here today. But the other really cogent point is that women, and the girl child need to be the basis of all this development and very much involved. If you have the women involved, and I learned this almost 50 years ago traveling through Asia, because you go into those communities, it didn't matter whether it was Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, but it was the women that were, running the business, the real business of running the family, running the community, and providing the food, etc. And I think that's where we need to go back. Questions for our esteemed panel? Oh, we got,
Yes.
okay, right here, right there, and then in the back, okay, right here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, be quick in your questions. We actually do have about 14 minutes. So,
Thank you very much for the question. Father, thank you. My question goes straight to you.
Okay.
As a region leader and someone who has relayed...
short questions.
Yes,
Short questions. I'm going to time you. Short questions.
So my question goes straight. San Egidio, you said San Egidio,
Yeah.
which was a Catholic-led group that helped putting politicians to bring peace everywhere, so Mozambique and elsewhere. Now, I'm Congolese, and so my question comes from the bottom of my heart.
Sure.
The peace process that we are talking about, Donald Trump and President Kagame and Tshisekedi set up something to bring peace in Congo. The whole process is where internal Congolese dialogue. The Catholic Bishop of Congo, together with Protestant pastors, they went the same process, but something gets stuck in the middle. So that's where my question comes to you. How Congolese today, if that message was brought to President Tshisekedi to unite the Congolese for a dialogue, how today can you advise the Congolese government or the bishops and those pastors who have already laid a 10-point process, the well-being of Congolese, a dialogue that can build Congo from the bottom up? What advice can you give to the bishop and the pastors who have initiated something, but they get stuck in the middle and nothing has been jump-started up to date?
Yeah, that's a very important question, my brother. My honest advice would be, do not be afraid, do not lose hope, do not give up. Sometimes in these processes, actors can bring up things to make it difficult for us to move forward, but we have to keep moving. It's very important because we are looking at the life of millions of Congolese.
True.
And as shepherds, as religious leaders, they have to continue to engage. If they get frustrated and walk away, how about the lives that are going to be lost in the process? Honestly, this is one thing we are trying to share with the African Union. In this, especially the Doha process, as my brother mentioned, we need the religious leaders to be part of that process.
Correct.
It's very important. Let them not give up. No matter the challenge, they meet on the way. Jesus Christ told us on Easter, do not be afraid.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Ben. I am originally from DRC. As a matter of fact, as far as 2001, I'm in DRC and I fled because of the war. So my question is on the peace accord between Rwanda and DRC. In my humble opinion, before I ask the questions, there has never been any processes in DRC that has punished those who committed atrocities. And I think we missed the opportunity in South Africa in 2004. So I guess I'm going to ask both of you the question. How do you see this process going through without the accompaniment of justice? Because I'm afraid that we're going to lose this opportunity again if there is no component of, a tribunal that has to judge really crimes that has been committed in DRC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In the blue jacket, all the way in the back. Okay.
Thank you.
No. You got to answer the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Answer the question.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You too.
All right.
I'm not gonna let my buddy get off here either.
I think what Ben has said is very important and makes a lot of sense. You can't have lasting peace without justice for the crimes that are committed. But I think for the situation of Eastern DRC now, I think the first important thing is peace. Restoration of peace, and then justice can come. Because if you had to combine the two at the same time, you might lose track of one. And crimes have been committed by all parties. Have been committed by all parties.
Correct.
Maybe we might borrow, we might lend you our experience through Gachacha. Exactly. That maybe you can use Gachacha to go and have an internal dialogue of what happened and reconcile based on that. But for now, I think yes, it is legitimate. It's important that people that committed crimes need to be brought to justice. But for me, the starting point should be peace. Let's have peace first on the ground. Let the guns fall silent. And once the guns are silent, then people will be brought to justice.
How, if that component is not there, to compel them to go through ceasefire? Because one of the biggest problems, you have two parties that are fighting. On one hand, the government of DRC is using money, lobbying here in Washington, D.C., and saying, America, come and invest there. I was in the mining sector. I know very, very well, deeply across Congo, what mining does to corrupt the system at the top. So if you don't have a backup plan that is going to compel the leaders that if they go off what has been accepted here in the United States, there will be consequences. Then I honestly don't think that the peace accord or people are going to cease fighting.
Yeah, but the agreement, I'm sure the administration here is serious about implementation of what is agreed upon.
That's true. Can we let other panelists also
Yes.
address the questions? Let's not leave it to one.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea, exchange of ideas.
Yeah, and then we have a question in the back. So
And
we
Dr.
want to keep
Freeman
on
has
time.
got a question here.
Okay, yeah, so my brother, thank you for that question. My approach to it will be that there has to be a balance between retributive justice and restorative justice. Because the restorative will find a way of bringing both the victim and the oppressor together to reflect. Because, we have to honorably acknowledge the wrong done to the other. That's one of the ways to enter the humanity of the other. I totally agree with you that if we sweep it under the carpet, it's not going to help anybody. And if we take it to another extreme, it will destroy the fragile peace. So there has to be a way of managing retributive, which is the extreme of punishment, and restorative, which is rehumanizing everybody, including the oppressor and the victim. So my suggestion to those leading the process would be make sure you look at retributive, restorative. Restorative is very important in this context, because if I don't acknowledge that I did something wrong to you, you might be looking for an opportunity to revenge.
Again.
But if we acknowledge it based on our humanity, that will help. And those who are putting this together can work on it. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you very much.
Okay, back in the back, yes.
Okay,
go
thank
ahead.
you very much. My name is Joyce Atta. I'm a Ghanaian, and my question is to the pastor. And it's a general question, and for me it's very concerning. So if you could help me understand, that would be very well appreciated. I feel that when it comes to the role of a pastor in a community, I don't know if it's a conflict or misunderstanding, but we usually expect pastors to only talk about the word of God and then not do politics. So I have had, being a Ghanaian, even though we enjoy peace here and there, but I can cite an example of Nigeria. We see the mass killing of Christians, and I know Nigeria in Africa, they have the best and the pastors with a lot of followers that if they are to step up and speak, they can mobilize the people to follow them.
Sure.
But I see most of them just make subtle comments, like they are scared to talk about it, and everyone is looking for who should take the bold step. No one is really on it. So my question is it that there is a conflict between understanding the role of a pastor in a community, and is there a way that we could help them understand how they can all help to address this piece? And then the other one is to the, I've forgotten your name, but the one who presented on the peace agreement between DRC and then Rwanda. I have followed, right? Yes, I've followed the news for quite some time. I even wrote a paper on it, I think last semester for my master's, right? And I've seen that so many efforts have been made from the UN level all over the place, right? So with the new agreements that our President Donald Trump has, successfully signed, what is special and different about it that would ensure that it's, if at least it will not eliminate the conflict totally, we could see it make positive impact than all the efforts that have been made in the past.
Amen.
Okay, all right.
All right, so let me respond to the question. Thank you, my sister, for that question. First of all, as religious leaders of every tradition, right, we are supposed to be political homeless people, right? That's basic.
Supposed to be what?
Political homeless.
Oh!
Yeah, homeless.
Harmless or homeless?
Homeless.
Okay,
Homeless. We're not supposed to belong to any party, and that's exactly what makes us homeless people politically as religious leaders. But where does that take us to? We minister to human beings, right? And these human beings belong to political parties. They go to the markets. They relate with other social services, education, everything about human security, education, health, and all those. You cannot be a shepherd, a religious leader, without talking about political issues. It's not possible. Even though you don't belong to. You saw what happened recently. The Pope was hammering on human dignity and all those. Some people are not happy with him, but that's the role of the Pope.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. So if a religious leader does not understand this part, he needs to kind of have a refresher course. Your focus, your constituency is the human person. If your constituency is the human person, you must do that which promotes integral human development. And we cannot shy away from it because, again, like you mentioned, some people make comments that are confusing. One of the finest rabbis I appreciate so much, Jonathan Sachs, said, "Not in God's name" is a beautiful book. Not in God's name. If it's in God's name, we must work for the well-being of the person and the community.
Yep. Okay. Arthur? And we need to get to this gentleman back here. He's been waiting. Okay.
I mean, so quickly, I mean, there have been multiple peace agreements between the different warring factions in the DRC. There are so many, over 20 of them. You hear about the Lusaka Peace Accords, you hear about Sun City in South Africa. So many peace accords have been signed. Nairobi, there have been so many processes. But all, at the end of the day, they've all been ignored and shelved. And that's the problem that has happened. Because when they commit to do something and there's no pressure to make them implement what they agreed upon, it dies. So the only difference that came this time round is that number one, it's in Washington, the political capital of the world. That's number one. Number two, it also brought in a component of economic agreement. Because for some time, the conflict is also partly because of economic issues that are in that part of the region. That people don't have things to do. Militias can go and you know, take a piece of territory and do mining and become kingpins in the areas. But now we're saying let's make things like mining more professional. Let's attract investments in these sectors. Investments from all areas, and from all places. For example, one of the things we're saying is that American private sector have very experienced people in mining. Why don't you come and set up a refinery in Kigali, and then be able to mine from Eastern Congo, bring things over to Kigali, refine them. Eastern Congo, taxes are paid, people are given jobs. Basically, put in a transparent process where there's no illegal mining, where you discourage illegal mining, but where both economies benefit. Or if there are capabilities in Eastern Congo where you can build refineries. We also have in one way we have miners. Take them there to be refined and then be shipped out when they're in a semi-processed status. So the economic agreement is the only new thing that came in between. There's issues on power generation, joint power generation. Eastern Congo needs a lot of electricity. If you can't talk about mining without electricity. There's issues on joint tourism projects. There are issues on joint infrastructure projects, roads, even health, even education. We talked about that. So those are some of the aspects that came along in this agreement. But the whole thing is about, you can have an agreement, you can sign an agreement, how do you implement it? How do you put pressure on both sides, not one side, to be able to implement what you have agreed upon?
Thank you.
And gentleman right here, okay,
was wearing the hat.
Okay, thank you very much. Lawrence Freeman, I'll be speaking in, I guess, a little while. My question is to the representative from the Rwandan embassy. There was a great deal of fanfare and publicity in December of last year when the deal was signed, some peace agreement was signed between Rwanda and the DRC. Has there been progress? Has events on the ground changed? Is there actually peace? Is there still war going on? There's so much propaganda and misreporting in the media, I've been unable to ascertain for myself if we've actually done something in quote stopping one of these wars.
No, there's nothing that's changed on the ground. There's still
but why not?
There's still war going on. And by the way, when you hear about Rwanda DRC, this war is not in Rwanda. This war is in Eastern DRC. It's not in Rwanda. So it's a domestic political issue of the DRC to sort out.
But tell us why the peace accord is not keeping, right? And I believe President Tshisekedi was here.
Yes,
when in his last visit, he had to leave early because why? Why he had to leave early? Because a key member, right, of the opposition force was not included with this deal. Is that correct?
No. It's not holding just because people are not genuine. People don't want it to hold. Mm-hmm. You know. At times when you're a diplomat, there's some things you can't say. But I can tell you that there are people who are benefiting from this war.
Yes, right.
People who are benefiting from this war, and people who are very influential.
Did you say like the president of Rwanda?
No.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
People in Kinshasa who are benefiting from this war.
Right.
And the stories are known. And for them, ending the war means ending one of the sources of livelihood, one of their financial power. So they will not be anxious to finish the war. But the thing is this: if pressure from Washington is put on whoever side.
What's in it for Washington?
There's so many things Washington. There's so many things Washington. We know the Trump administration is not about transaction.
Right.
So I'm saying if pressure is exerted on both parties of the agreement, then things will change.
Right.
If people do not take these things serious, then nothing will change. And that's what we've been demanding for, because we want to end this crisis once and for all. Every 5 years, it becomes a cycle. Every 5 years, it comes up. Whenever there's an election coming up in the DRC, there's a conflict that comes up because of trying to divert the internal political issues and trying to export it outside. So we want this crisis to end once and for all.
Okay, right here in the front.
Yeah, me, I can.
Where are we on the program?
We're done. We're done.
Where are we?
Yeah, I have something to add.
All right, last question.
So, Ambassador, a perfect,
Please.
because, Ambassador, so I want to highlight something that is missing, the role of the youth in this agreement and the process that you guys are doing, because as we see that African youth are representing 75% from the population.
She's trying to ask a question as well.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, she had the.
And I was waiting, and she's like, everyone's waiting.
Before this happens, hold
Go
on.
ahead.
We are over time. We have another panel to
So
go. And there's food right outside. Let's take a break. And people can
So,
talk
Ambassador, I didn't
one-on-one.
finish my.
One-on-one.
Moderator, 1 second, 1 second. Both of these ladies, let's just have them ask the question, all right? Just pose the question,
Yeah,
and then we
okay.
okay. Good question.
No,
My question is really quick. Someone talked about social capital and trust capital, but my question is, how can trust capital be built if there's so many examples of it being broken?
Okay, now give it to her. Give it to her.
So I think there is 75 African youth represent 75% from the population. When you have that in structure for peace building and the team, I want you to take, Ambassador, I'm suggesting to take in consideration, because the youth are the first one to take initiative under the ground when the war starts. They will go and send humanitarian aid without. So I'm just suggesting, it's not a question, a suggestion. If you can add youth body in the structure of the initiative.
That's a very
It can be a huge transformation for the economic development, and we have a lot of qualified youth who can help you on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
As we break,